Welcome back to my studio. Today I'm working on a Christmas present. This is a commission to do a portrait of this gentleman's granddaughter. And so first of all, I have lightly penciled in her outline of her face and her features on the canvas. And now I'm going to just do a wash in of her face. This I will let dry overnight before I begin painting. But it gives me the basic roadmap that I want to follow. I want to get all the planes of her face. I want to get the values, the lights and the darks in there. And so that's what I'm doing now. And this is not meant to be an exact likeness of her. I just want to get the basic features in so that I'll have something to follow when I paint. The light is coming in from the upper left, and she's going to be in a field of bluebonnets. In Texas, bluebonnets are a spring ritual, and many people photograph their babies and themselves in the bluebonnets. That's just something we Texans do. They're our Texas state flower, and we're very, very proud of them. And so this little baby's going to be in a field of bluebonnets. Right now I've made a thin wash of my mud, which is ultramarine blue plus alizarin crimson, and I mix it with liquid, which dries quickly, and it thins it out and just makes a really nice wash. So I want to establish my shadow pattern on her face. And the nice thing about this wash is you can lift it up. I'll show you in just a second what I mean. And all of my paintings, I start this way. I just do an initial wash in that then gives me a road map to follow as I'm painting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wash over her chin, and then I'll show you how that lifts off. Now, I clean my brush and my thinner, and I use terpenoid odorless thinner. That way I don't get that turpentine smell in my studio. And the brush is clean, and I can just come back and lift off my wash. So if I wash over an area that I don't want that dark, then I can just come back and take it off, which is really nice in starting my, establishing my values. This really helps because I can go back in and work and back and forth. It's called pushing and pulling. Now she's got a little shadow here under her nose, and then this side of her mouth is upper lip's going to be in shadow. Then under her cheek. Getting her face, the planes of the face in, really is a good start. That's the key to catching someone's likeness. Is the planes in everyone's face are different. But they're established by the facial muscles and the skeleton, the skull underneath. I started out as a medical illustrator, so I've studied the anatomy, which has really helped me when it comes to doing portraits. Now I want to do the eye here. Again, there's a distinct shadow pattern. I have my photograph taped up next to the easel so that I can follow that. And then her forehead just comes around. And you get a little, she doesn't really have much hair, but just a little bit right up under. She's wearing a little headband with flowers on it, so that's a little bit dark under there. I use toilet tissue to wipe my brush. I just, again, clean my brush in the odorless thinner, and then, again, I can soften these edges. Now I'm coming back with a smaller brush, and I'm going to establish her eyes. Go ahead and put in her iris and pupil. Right now I'm not worried about putting catch light or pupil or anything in. I just want to establish my light and dark patterns. So I'll come back and do that when I start painting. I just want to get this start getting my basic features put in. And now the white of the eye is not going to be totally white. It's really in shadow, but I got that a little bit dark, so I can just come and lift out a little bit of that value, a little bit of that wash I put in, and just make it a little lighter value. And value means the lightness or the darkness of your paint. I know a lot of people say, oh, that's so confusing, but it's just whether if something's dark, it has a dark value. If it's light, it has a light value. I'm going to do her upper lid. I'm going to take a little bigger brush and start making these planes and get the form of her face under her eyes. Just a little darker here. I can use the corner of the brush to go back in and add any little detail I want. Okay, this side of her nose is in shadow. I need to get a little more wash on my brush. Side of her nose is in shadow. She's got a little bit of, get this under her eye. It has a little indentation here. This is a little bit lighter in here. Again, with this wash, you can get as light or as dark as you want to. I'm trying to combine both words. Start under her neck. This is going to be a little bit lighter, a little bit darker here. Her shoulder. Wearing a pretty little sundress. I'll worry about that later. Right now I want to get her mouth in. Get her nose. Get a point on my brush. It's split. There we go. And her mouth. You establish the corners of their mouth again. Usually the corners of the mouth are down from the center of the eye. She's got a pretty little Cupid's bow upper lip, lower lip. I'm going to come back and lift off the highlight. And her mouth is dark, so we're just going to make that dark in there right now. I'll come back and work on that. But again, I just want to get this established. And then I can use a clean brush to smooth those edges. And I just dip it in my thinner and then wipe it out with my tissue. Let's do our little highlight on here. Now we're going to get a little darker, just again under this where her cheek comes down. And then this gets a little, the philtrum in there is darker. That's a little bit, you get a little wider brush. Soften this in here. Soften that. Now her lip is a little bit lighter than the interior of her mouth. So I'm going to come back in and just make this a little bit darker. The corners of her mouth turn up a little bit. She has a cute little smile. Happy little girl. She loves being out in those Texas bluebonnets. Let me do her nose. Just give it some roundness here. That's in shadow. And let me get her other ear. And I'm just going to kind of outline the little flowers on her headband. I'm not going to worry about giving those much form. I just want to get the kind of the general feeling that they're there. I'll come back and do those with paint. Again, this is not meant to be in an exact likeness of our little baby. Little Quinn is her name. But we just want to kind of get her washed in so that I'll have some direction when I start painting. Neck is, there we go. Okay, so she is washed in. I thank you for following along today. Please feel free to make comments or ask questions, and I hope you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also have a blog. I'll have that address on the final frame of the YouTube video. And thank you for following along today. I really appreciate you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Happy painting!